someone from my team, if you'll just let me know once we're good with the live stream. Okay, I think we've got everybody in from the Zoom waiting room, so we'll just wait for the live stream, and there it is. All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers and the chair of the Pardon Board. I'm going to go through some housekeeping items. I'm going to introduce my fellow board members who are on the call today, and just go through a little bit of what to expect before we get into hearing from our applicants today. So I'll start with introducing my fellow board members. With us today is Nadia Perez Reyes. She is a assistant secretary for the Department of Children and Families. She previously worked as a state public defender and as an attorney for Legal Action of Wisconsin. We also have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the deputy secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She served as division administrator.
Is your camera and mic on?
Sandra, I'm just gonna ask you to go ahead and mute for a minute. So Cindy O'Donnell also served as a division administrator under Attorney Generals Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. And finally, we have board member Reverend John McVicker Sr. Reverend McVicker is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He additionally serves as the board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. So those are our board members today. Everyone else in the Zoom, please go ahead and mute yourselves and keep your video off until it is your turn to be heard by the board. That will just allow us to make sure that we can hear folks clearly and that we can focus on the person who is presenting at any given moment. The hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube today. If you run into any IT issues, don't worry. Someone from my team will reach out to you and try to troubleshoot. We will go through folks in the order that they're listed on the agenda and open meetings notice. But if we do need to come back to you because of IT issues, we will do that just once we get things sorted out. So like I said, we'll call people up in the order on the agenda. We'll have about 5 minutes with each applicant in total. So we're going to ask you to spend the first 3 minutes or so of that answering the questions that you were sent in advance. As a reminder, those are providing us with a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including any community involvement, public service, employment, and finally, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. So we'll ask you to spend the first 3 minutes on those questions, and then we will open it up to any other questions that the board members might have for you after reviewing your packet and reviewing what you've shared with us today. Don't read too much into it either way. If there are questions or not, sometimes everything is answered in the written materials that you provided and what you tell us answering those 3 questions. Sometimes there are other things that we feel like might impact the decision, and we just want to make sure we have all the information from you that we might need. Once we're done asking you questions, you are welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom meeting. You do not need to hang out with us all day here. And once everyone is heard, the board will go into closed session to decide whether or not to recommend your pardon application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order to have your application sent to the governor, and then he will then make the final decision on whether or not to reject or accept applications that are forwarded to him. Either way, you will get notified about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or two. So you will not find out the outcome today. I know that lots of you have been waiting for a very long time. We just ask for a little bit more patience with the process, and you can expect to hear from us in about a month or two on where things have landed. So we will call folks up in the order listed on the agenda, starting with Mr. Sean Breitbach, who I know I saw. Excellent. Mr. Breitbach, we'll turn it over to you.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Name's Sean Breitenbach.
My offense was burglary. I was caring for my mother. She moved up by me, had breast cancer. I was working full-time, managing properties at that time. She ended up passing, and my time I spent caring for her, I ended up losing my job. So I committed this crime and felt very guilty. Didn't get arrested or anything right away. Moved. A detective came to my house about, I'll say 6 months later. Spoke to me. I told him, I know why you're here. I told him I have everything that I stole, I'd like to return. I kept it in a storage unit. I met them at the police station, handed over everything I took. He let me go. 2 weeks later, I got my court appearance in the mail. Public defender went to court. Ended up getting a year probation and 40 hours of community service. By then I was working full-time, completed the community service right away. And my probation officer let me off 9 months after my parole. So he let me off 3 months early. And the reason I'm asking for a pardon, I think all people, good people, deserve a second chance. But my nephews, I used to hunt with a lot, and the last couple of years, they're grown, have their own kids, and one of my nephews has a cabin up north, and the last 2 years have asked me to come up, and this past year, I finally had to tell him the truth, why I couldn't, and that kind of was a little heartbreaking. So I'd like to just get this put behind me so I can, even if I don't hunt, I can do things. I've had full-time employment until 2018, had a minor stroke, and now I suffer from migraine, so I'm on disability. So as far as, I don't even think I'd be hunting, but I would like to go up there, and with them having guns, I know I can't be around that, so I had to explain that to them. So for now, I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Breitenbach. All right, let's see if board members have any questions for you. Cindy.
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Breitenbach. I have two
Good
questions. Why wouldn't you just return the stolen vacuums rather than get a storage unit and put them in a storage unit and wait for someone to come to you?
I felt guilty. I knew I was going to be in trouble one way or the other. And instead of selling them, I figure I'd hold on to them because I knew one way or the other they'd catch up to me. It was a stupid mistake on my part.
Okay. My other question is, I went through your packet, and in your packet,
Yes.
you say it's your belief that the punishment was far more severe than the crime committed. Why do you think that? You got 1 year probation.
Well, the judge was actually, I kind of misworded that. The judge was the one that told the DA he saw no reason for it to be a felony, but the DA said, we're going to push forward. That's what I meant by that. Judge Smith said it should have been just a misdemeanor because I did return everything and not having a previous record. So yeah, it may have been stated wrong.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Breitenbach? All right, none for me. So thank you very much, Mr. Breitenbach. Appreciate your time. And as I mentioned, you do not need to hang out on the Zoom. Hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
You too. Thank you much.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Linda Orsburn. Is Orsburn on the Zoom with us? Ms. Orsburn, I can see your square. If you can unmute and turn your camera on, we're ready to get started with you. Okay.
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Hello, Ms.
Okay, I
Orsburn.
don't know if I have the camera on though. Start the video. Okay. Sorry, I've never done this before.
That's okay. Take your time. We can't quite see you yet, but it looks like your camera might be on.
Yeah, I see the light. Oh goodness. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how to turn it on.
That's okay. Is there like a little plastic shield or a piece of tape or something over it?
No, nothing. I see the light and I'm looking right into it. Oh goodness. See, now I'm no good under pressure either. I'll probably lose you if I bounce around.
That's okay. We can also just proceed with audio, or if you prefer, we can come back to you.
Okay, if we could audio, if you would, please.
Okay, that sounds good. Why don't you just go ahead and give that kind of 3-minute summary and we'll see if we have questions for you.
Okay, so back 39 years ago, which gosh, I wish I was there now, but I was very young and naive and, you know, hung around with the kind of bad boy type thing. It was back in 1984, and I was asked if I want to cash some money orders, the paper money orders, and we would split the amount. So I didn't think anything of it. I went ahead and cashed them. Like I said, young, stupid, cashed them. And of course, they had the trace and found me. Scariest thing in my life was going down to the courthouse and, you know, getting charged with this. Again, very naive. I didn't even really realize, honestly, what a felony was and how it would follow you throughout your life. It's, like I said, been 39 years. Many years never, you know, had to think about the actual charge because I was in my own businesses. And currently I have a medical transportation company in Kenosha, and we transport the Medicaid, Medicare, the elderly, all kinds of patients, the dialysis, the cancer. And it's actually the joy of my life. It's been almost 17 years with that business. I still have it. And just to see the smile on their faces of us picking them up, because many of them just need some socialization and, you know, the tough times they're going through. So I've helped out in many ways, even when they fall in the cracks between the Medicaid and Medicare and nobody wants to cover them, we'll go ahead and transport them anyways, because we know it's a health condition that they have. Other than that, the reason I'm asking for the pardon is, you know, the felony back then, young and naive, but it doesn't, and it hasn't defined me as an adult, even the early adulthood. And I really never had to think about it until recently. I'm basically pretty fortunate that I'm able to commute from Florida and still run my business from here because I have great employees. So as I'm filling out applications for rentals, because that's what I'm gonna do right now is just rent for a while, that question does come up, and then it reminds me, I'm like, oh my goodness, I still have that. And I get scared every time I'm filling out the application that I have to talk about it or bring it up again. So it's just really to get rid of, you know, that part of me that hasn't become me, because I've never committed another crime since then or even thought about it.
Excellent, Ms. Orsborn. I think before we open it to others for questions, I have just one for you, which was at the time that you were discharged from probation, it looked like you did still owe about $1,000 in restitution. That was obviously a long time ago, but to your knowledge, have you paid all of the restitution?
Yeah, I paid it all back, and I believe my date that I paid it back was back in '87. So I did have to extend it a year because I did not come up with the money yet.
Got it. Thank you. Other questions from board members? Cindy?
Good morning, Ms. Orsborn. The application does not require, but encourages letters of support for your pardon application, and you didn't submit any. Can you tell us why not?
You know, I didn't, I mean, I could have, I suppose, gotten some letters of support. I did it rather quickly. There's really no reason. I could definitely, all the contracts I run, all the people that have associated with me throughout the years, I think you would get a lot of great recommendations, but I'm sorry I did not.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Orsborn? No. All right. Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Orsborn. I appreciate you sharing with us today. And as I mentioned, you do not need to hang out on the Zoom. Hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Ms. Ewing.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. There we
Hi.
go. Let's see you. All right, we'll turn it over.
All right, so hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Ariel Ewing. And the crime that I committed was in 2009, August of 2009. I committed the crime of delivering an illegal article to an inmate at the Milwaukee County Jail. That item was a cell phone. It was requested of me to purchase a cell phone, which I did at a local electronics store in the city of Milwaukee. And I delivered that cell phone to a correctional officer who worked at the Milwaukee County Jail, who then delivered that cell phone to the inmate, who is my older brother, one of my older brothers. In 2009, December of 2009, I was sentenced to 15 months of probation, which I completed in March of 2011 with no violations. And then shortly after completing probation, the crime was expunged from my record. So at this time, it is sealed. And I don't recall exactly when that was. I believe that may have also been in 2011. Since I've committed that crime, I've quite a bit. I've earned a bachelor's degree, which I earned in 2013 in business and management from Mount Vernon College. I also earned a master's degree, also from Mount Vernon College in business administration. I've been employed since that occurred as well. In 2011, I worked as a customer service lead at a company called Perfect Timing. Following that, I worked for the Milwaukee Fire Department as a 911 operator. I then went back to the public sector in a customer service related role, and then I was promoted to a billing coordinator at a company called Direct Supply. I then went back to the city of Milwaukee with the Milwaukee Police Department, where I worked as a 911 operator. I was promoted at the city of Milwaukee to the Department of Employee Relations as a human resources representative, where I served as basically a compensation analyst in human resources. Since then, I now work for the state of Wisconsin in the Department of Administration, also in a human resources related role as a lead classification and compensation analyst. I've also volunteered as a student volunteer. I volunteered in undergrad at the Pan-African Community Association, and in grad school, I volunteered at the School Sisters of St. Francis. I also have a number of certificates. One of the certificates I started to earn while still on probation was a certified nursing assistant, which was a prerequisite for the program in which I was studying at first, so nursing, but I changed gears to business. I also earned 2 different certificates through employment. One was in advanced emergency medical dispatcher. So I have that certification that I earned in 2014. And then in 2016 or 17, a crisis intervention training certification. And then in 2017, through education, I earned a certificate in business analytics. I've also purchased a home here in Milwaukee, which was in 2021. And then I've recently, I'm in the process of launching a business called Elira. So I've got the LLC, and I'll be launching that in spring of this year. The reason that I believe that I should receive a pardon, first, I would like to say that my actions were inexcusable. I really don't have a good reason for why I committed that crime, other than using poor judgment. I was immature. This was, I think, 13 or 14 years ago. I was 19 at the time. I'm 34, almost 35 now. And I was easily influenced by my older brother, who had been a very positive role model in my life for many years. He's almost 10 years older than me. At the time, I did not consider the consequences or the severity of the crime that I committed. So I didn't fully understand the impact of what I did. I will say that it completely changed my life for the better. It forced me to carefully consider decisions that I made moving forward and to be more mindful of my actions and the way that I'm influenced by others. I've also made, I would say, more positive decisions in an attempt to not allow my past to foreshadow my future. As I've mentioned, through the number of jobs that I've held. I feel that I've moved up the ranks. I've worked in public service. I still do. I would like to move further up the ranks in my career. Currently, as a state employee, one of my desires is to possibly work for some of our more notable departments with the state of Wisconsin, such as the Department of Justice or the Department of Corrections. And I believe that my criminal background could pose as a barrier to that. And despite what appears to be a very strong work history, I do believe that my criminal background will continue to be a barrier to employment. For example, I've been declined job opportunities. I've had to appeal job opportunities, like with the Milwaukee Police Department, being a law enforcement type of agency where I applied for the job, the offer was rescinded when my background check came, and I was in a very similar predicament that I'm in today, where I had to explain what I did and ask for the job, and I was lucky enough to still receive it. I would also like to possibly change the direction of my career. I have a strong interest in finance and accounting, and I believe that my criminal background could make someone who doesn't know me think that maybe I'm an untrustworthy person or a person who doesn't make good decisions. And I think that a crime that I committed as a 19-year-old, I had just turned 19. This was in August. I turned 19 in July of that year. And I just don't want to allow that one mistake that I made as a teenager to continue to overshadow all of my accomplishments. So that's why I'm here today.
Thank you, Ms. Ewing. Questions from the board? Cindy?
Yeah. Good morning, Ms. Ewing. Congratulations on all you've accomplished since
Thank you.
this crime. We try to see people as who they are today, not who they were back then. So you've helped us do that, which leads me my puzzling question. Why did you not submit any letters of support?
So, one of the reasons is that because my record has been expunged, it's not public information that I have a felony, that I'm a felon. So a lot of my contacts that I would have considered or would have requested that they would write a letter for me, they're not aware that I have a felon. And these are a lot of professional contacts. So professors, coworkers, supervisors, people that I know think highly of me, they're just not aware. And it's not a part of my past that I would like to highlight. I did consider asking family members, but I thought that may come across as being biased because they're family members. So I wasn't sure how that would reflect to the board today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Ms. Ewing? Ms. Ewing, I would just note the judge who reviewed your application, as well as the district attorney and the county that prosecuted you, both support your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
Happy, definitely happy. Yes, it makes me feel good that they wouldn't go against, my desire to have a pardon. So I'm just happy that I was able to change my life and make a good impression.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time this morning, Ms. Ewing. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. And as I mentioned, you're free to go enjoy the rest of your morning.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Scott Hanford. Mr. Hanford, I believe I saw you in the Zoom.
Yep. Okay.
There we are. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Scott Hanford. I'm sorry, I'm kind of reading off of because there's so much. Thank you for the opportunity today to present my case for the pardon. My offense was a party to crime, theft of movable property. My sentence went well, completing the 3 years of probation, paying in full all probation, court fees, and restitution. Since then, I have worked in various volunteer with the men's ministry and Calvary Bible Church in Neenah, helping different people with fixing things around their house, preparing for winter, all different various things just to help out some elderly people that have disabilities. I also worked as in the Phi Theta Kappa as a the Honor Society at the Fox Valley Technical College as a treasurer and a leadership team member, non-paid positions, helping organize fundraisers to support events like Cinderella Boutique, and fund and establish We Are chapter against domestic abuse at the technical college. This is on top of working or doing various projects and things for family members, neighbors, friends. My employment history is when trying to think, I was peer advisor at the tech while I worked there, or while I was going to school there. And then since the tech, I've been working as a production supervisor for like the last 7 years. I have earned my associate's degree in electromechanical technology, currently working towards my bachelor's degree in business administration. I have multiple certifications, including CPR, that I have earned throughout this time. And then a brief statement of why I think I should receive a pardon. Want to first start out with, I mean, there's no excuse or justification that anybody could ever think of for a reason that it was for doing it, but receiving this pardon would allow me the opportunity to apply to being a police officer. I know that this is a long shot, even with a pardon, but it is impossible without. When I was laid off from Oshkosh Corp in 2014 after this felony, I struggled with finding work close to home that offered income and a decent health insurance to provide for my family. And I wasn't even able to go back to corrections as a correction officer. Luckily, my degree through my wife just finished her schooling, which allowed me to complete my associate's degree through the Wisconsin Investment Act. Then due to this horrible choice of mine over 12 years ago, during the challenging time in my life, I was not able to go to school for what I really wanted to, which was criminal justice. These choices caused my wife to take my son and go live with her parents, my father to stop talking to me for multiple years, and my grandmother to lock herself in her room, on top of my aunt, uncle, and cousin unacceptable pain and suffering. Through this, since then I have worked with a therapist recently after the situation to help me kind of better handle challenging situations in the future. I've spent the last 12 years earning the trust, respect, and love back from everyone in my family and friends. My wife and I now have a 10-year-old daughter with our 16-year-old son, who are everything to me, and I refuse to do anything to lose them for any reason ever again. And I can guarantee that if given this chance, I will never give anybody a reason to question that decision.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Hanford. Let's just see if there are any questions from board members. Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Hanford.
Morning.
At the time of the offense, and then again in your statement in your application, you say you committed the crime because you and your family were threatened. But the detective assigned to the case found that not credible, and your co-defendant says it was all actually your idea. Can you speak to that?
It was a bad error. He was making comments about sneaking in people's houses and watching them sleep, and these are things that he would say to me off to the side, and it was, I guess it wasn't like a straightforward threat. It just was the comments he was making about coming into the house and how he would do things to us in our sleep and things like that. It was all one-on-one, so it was nothing that I could prove. I mean, like I said, there's no justification for what I did. I mean, either way, it's not acceptable. I should have went to the police right away and not even went any further.
Okay, and I have one other question. You submitted several letters of support, but many of them are dated from 2012 and 2016. I'm a little confused by that.
Well, I just really have a hard time with asking people for, and to tell them about this. I mean, the event, I really struggle letting, I mean, I know they can go on the Wisconsin Circuit Court, but not everybody really does that. So I really have a hard time telling people and letting them know that I have a felony. It's kind of something that I guess I tear myself down about still today. And then telling people about it and it just kind of opens that up and makes me feel like they'll think of me different.
Sure.
And I know people have treated me differently after they found out. So it's really,
Yeah. No, I understand that. Did you have the letters? I mean, you had these letters though. Did you apply for like expungement or something? Why did you have all these
no,
letters?
this is throughout my time working stuff.
Okay.
I found out about the ability to apply for a pardon after the 10 years. So I started thinking, well, I better start
Okay.
getting this together. And then as of recent, I'm always afraid to ask people into recent employment and stuff because it's, like I said, it kind of sometimes changes how people treat you and talk to you and think about you. So I was always afraid to do that. I guess it's kind of a fear of mine.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions from the board? No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Hanford. Appreciate you being with us today and speaking with us. I hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Ms. Monique West, who I believe I saw on the Zoom as well. Ms. West, we're ready to hear from you. Ms. West, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. We can hear you now. We can't see you. Are you able to turn on your video?
Mm,
There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning. You can go right ahead with answering those 3 questions. We'll give you about 3 minutes to speak to them, and then we'll see if we have any other questions for you.
Okay, thank you for seeing me today. My name is Monique, and in 2011, I pled guilty for 2 charges, party to a crime with intent to deliver and manufacturing a drug house. I was sentenced to 2 years probation. I completed my probation with no issues. Since then I've kept I graduated, I got my GED, I've kept full-time jobs. I'm just looking to receive a pardon so I can better my life and be a better role model for my children. My dream is to go to medical school, and just with a background and things like that, it's just hard for me to get accepted in a lot of things that I want to do.
Thank you, Ms. West. Questions from the board? Cindy.
This is the day for no letters of support. Ms. West, the application encourages but doesn't require letters of support. You didn't submit any. Can you tell us why not?
Honestly, I'm just kind of too embarrassed to get people involved in my life that I had before, and just didn't want to ask anyone for help.
Thank you.
Ms. West, I will note that we received input from the district attorney from the county where your case was, and they support your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel very happy.
Excellent. Any other questions for Ms. West? All right, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate you speaking with us. And as I've told everyone else, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. You're free to enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Jeffrey Munch.
Good
We'll turn
morning.
it over to you.
All right.
morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking this opportunity out of your day so I can apply for this pardon. I'd like to read a statement that I have prepared. I know what I did in 1995 was, and I accepted my crime that was wrong, and I am very sorry for my actions. Using a controlled substance is illegal, and I deserve the punishment that I received. Since my arrest, I have not used any controlled substances, nor do I ever intend to. My charge was conspiracy with intent to deliver. I began using cocaine a little after high school with some friends and an occasional wedding or golf outing. At the end of 1995, I used it more than I ever had previously. And with my counselor that I had, she said I was probably on the verge of becoming addicted if I wasn't already. I was arrested with the man who bought the cocaine for me. On a couple of occasions, I drove him to pick the cocaine up because he did not have a vehicle. He would drop me off at a store, Menards or something like that, take my vehicle wherever to meet his source and get his cocaine. Then he'd pick me back up and we headed home. It was on the trip back home that we were pulled over and my charge came from. During my incarceration, I ran the NA group, started a religious group, was put on work release, served 2 years out of my 5-year sentence with no occurrences while I was incarcerated. Following my release, I went back to my hometown where my crime was committed. I was well received by the community, including my law enforcement officer friends. I spoke to our local high school many times about my story early when I came home, for the fact that a lot of these students I had did programs for, and everybody that knew me as an officer now saw me as a felon. I was released from parole early and I've had only one negative contact with police, and that was a speeding ticket somewhere around 2000 or 2001. Not sure. It's not on my record anymore, so I couldn't see. I married my wife Penny in 98. We have 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 1 on the way. And I'm very active in all their lives. I was hired by Midstate Supply in Wautoma right here after I was released and have been employed with them since. This year will be my 26th year here. I started in a warehouse, drove truck, moved to inside sales, and now I am the branch manager of the Wautoma location. Reasons why I would like the pardon is be able to travel outside the United States, advancement in Midstate Supply or in another career, show my children and grandchildren and friends that the mistake I made in my life, with hard work, I improved my life. To be able to hunt with my son and grandsons for the first time. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Munch. Questions from the board? Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Munch. First of
Good
all,
morning.
congratulations on your long-term sobriety.
Thank you.
Good for you. I want to go back to your application packet and your statement of the crime. And what you wrote was, I went to Milwaukee with a man who obtained cocaine, and on the way back home, we were arrested.
Correct.
But according to the criminal complaint, you asked him to purchase you cocaine, and you provided him the money to purchase. I mean, this.
Yes. That is correct. Yeah, I gave him the money for my portion. He didn't have a way to get there, and so I drove him down. He took the vehicle, went away, came back, picked me up, and we came back home. That's how I got the conspiracy charge, because I knew what he had was
Gotcha.
going to be delivered.
Okay. And you were a police officer at the time?
That's correct.
Okay. And when you were arrested, you tried to say it was an undercover operation you were running?
Yes, I did for the first 2 weeks. And then once I got called in to make my statement, I provided out all the information they needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Right, thank you, Mr. Munch. Appreciate your time talking with the board this morning, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. As I mentioned, everyone, you don't need to hang out in the Zoom. And you can expect to hear from the office in about a month or two.
Okay, thanks again for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Sandra Adams. Ms. Adams, are you in the Zoom with us? There we are.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead. Take it.
So first I want to say thank you so much because this really means a lot to me and I'm really nervous and I'm sorry. So I wrote down what I wanted to say and I hope that's okay. Um, so I do want to let you know I was in a coma, so my memory isn't 100%. So I'm trying my best to answer everything to my ability. So when I was 18 in 1998, I was a single mother and I started a job in Port Plaza Mall at a clothing store and we sold Packer merchandise. And on game days, we would be in front of a bar called Stadium View and we would be selling the merchandise. And my coworkers they would take things or trade things for drinks to guys that they thought were cute and stuff. And one day in the store, a coworker took a jersey and she was telling me that, I should do it too. And I did. I ended up taking a couple items for my son and my brother at the time, who was like a son to me. And then Julie, who is my mother, found out. She came in the store and stole a bunch of stuff, and I allowed her to do it. And I was arrested for party of the crime of theft. Um, and I take complete responsibility, and it was wrong of me. I was sentenced to house arrest and probation. The only thing I didn't agree with is so they took like an inventory of the whole store, and I was charged for everything that was missing in the store, which was not everything that we took, but I did do it. So I take responsibility for that. Um, sorry, I'm so nervous.
It's okay, take your time.
My second crime, I was charged with party of the crime of delivery of Adderall. So my childhood was very traumatic. I went through many years of sexual and mental and physical abuse. And at 9 years old, I was basically raising my brother. And I never got help or treatment or therapy I needed at that time. And I had so many wrong people in my life because I was trying to find love and acceptance that I didn't receive in my childhood. At this time, I was a single mom with 3 kids, and I was basically a doormat. I just got out of an abusive relationship with my youngest child's father, and I jumped into a marriage with a man named James. One of his coworkers asked him if he could get Adderall, and I had Adderall in my home. So I allowed him to sell it to him. He didn't drive because he didn't have a license. So I picked him up from work every day, brought him home. And I was on disability at the time for depression, anxiety, and my memory. We were pulled over and I was arrested. I was sentenced to to jail and probation. I divorced him after I did my sentence. I paid everything I needed to, and I started therapy from everything I've gone through. Since then, I went to home therapy. My children have gone to therapy. We've done family therapy, and I'm a much different person than I was then. I did a lot of volunteer work in school, church, the Salvation Army. And it's been 1 year now since I took myself off of disability. I actually started working a job, which was really hard at first to find a job because of my felony and also my lack of employment history. I did find one through a temp agency, and I got hired on through the company, promoted to team lead, and now I'm an assistant manager. They do want to promote me again, but to be promoted, I would need to be a notary, which I can't have as a felon. I filed taxes for my first time this year. I pay for my own health insurance. I started a 401k. My credit score is over 800. Like, I'm so proud of myself. And it took a long time to learn self-love and forgiveness. And my children are great members of the community. My oldest is a police officer. My second son goes to college in Milwaukee for psychiatry. My daughter works full-time and she graduates this year from beauty school. So I've gone through a lot, but I wanted to make a better life for my children, and that's the hardest thing, was to forgive myself for what I put them through. Yeah, I don't know. I'm
Thanks,
really
Ms.
nervous. I'm sorry.
You're doing great. It's totally understandable to be nervous. Why don't we just see if the board has any questions for you?
Okay.
Cindy?
Yeah. Good morning, Miss Adams. Thank you for being with us today. This isn't the easiest forum for people to
No.
appear in, and it sounds like you've accomplished a lot. Congratulations on getting back into the workforce and
Thank you.
all you've done. You've heard me ask this question of applicants before you, but the application process does not require but encourages letters of support, and you did not submit any. Can you just tell us why not?
First, I was very isolated with my depression and working on myself. I didn't have a lot of relationships built at the time, except for my volunteering, which I was really ashamed of a lot of the things I've gone through, and I didn't want to be known as that person. And it might not be right. Like, I wasn't hiding who I was, but I just don't talk about it a lot. My children, I have not told because I really want it to be a surprise if I do get it. And so I didn't want to ask them. And then also, like, my employment now, I just didn't feel comfortable because
Sure, understandable.
I
Okay,
did
thank
have,
you.
at the time I was dating someone, and that I filed this, and he was going to write one for me because he was the only person that knows. But we since ended the relationship mainly because of my felon, because he teaches concealed classes, and he has a lot of guns for hunting, and it was a big part of our relationship where it didn't work because of what he does.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ms. Adams. Any other questions? All right, I think that is it from us. Thank you for your time today, and for sharing your story with us, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your morning. As I mentioned, you don't need to hang out with us in the Zoom.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right, our next applicant is Mr. Arnold Jackson. Mr. Jackson, if you're in the Zoom, we're ready to hear from you. All right, Mr. Jackson, I can see your square, but we can't hear you or see you yet.
I'm trying
There we go.
to get it. I'm trying to get on now.
Sounds
Hello?
good. We can hear you, we can't yet see you.
Oh, is it here?
Okay. How about now?
Able to access camera.
Yeah, we can hear you, still no video yet.
No, I'm working on it.
Start my video.
You still can't?
It says
Not yet.
unable to access camera. Please allow Zoom to access your camera from device settings.
Oh man. I'm trying
Oh,
to
here
get
it is. Here it is. Well, should have came on.
Oh man. You say you can hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay, then I'm trying to get the camera. I got help somebody's trying to get the camera so I sort of get in.
Okay,
Yeah.
ma'am, it says unable to access camera. Please allow Zoom to access your camera from device settings.
Mhm. Are you on an iPhone or?
At Android.
Android.
Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll have one of my team members give you a call and help you get it turned on, and we'll just come back to you. If we can't get it working by the time we do the next two folks, we'll just do audio only.
Okay.
But just stand by, one of them will give you a call.
Sounds good.
All right, so in the meantime, we'll move on to Mr. Scott Retzloff, who I believe I saw. There we are. Mr. Retzloff, we'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. My name's Scott Retzloff. I believe I'm a good candidate for a pardon. I was convicted back in 1987, 37 years ago. I was 19 years old. I was a passenger in an automobile with some guys that at the time I thought were my friends. Basically led them to a country store where they had a refrigerated trailer outside that I knew about, and another passenger jumped out and took a tire iron and broke the lock, entered the facility, taking 17.5 cases of Old Milwaukee beer out. I helped him take them to the ditch where the other two, the driver and another passenger of the car, put them in the trunk of the car, and we drove off and continued to party that night. And the next day we were called by the sheriff's department, and what we didn't drink basically was returned, and I ended up paying restitution divided 4 ways on what we drank. I was charged with a felony of burglary. I spent 100 days in jail, 3 years probation, paid my restitution, all without a flaw. Since then, I've held steady employment, basically hard labor work. My felony has really been a roadblock in what I really truly want to do. Prior to me getting into trouble, my all-time dream was to go into the military, and that just was a major roadblock for that. And I really have nobody else to blame but myself for that. But since then, I just I've accomplished a lot of things as far as my education and stuff. I got certified as a firefighter from WITC, and through my training and stuff as a firefighter and first responder, I really took a liking into that and wanted to move forward into like the medical end of things as like an EMT. And because of my felony, I couldn't do that because I would have had to have been registered through the state of Wisconsin. I got certification through Lund as a marine mechanic, also taxidermy, all things that I enjoy doing. Years and years ago, prior to my incident, I enjoyed traveling and hunting with my family prior to my son being born. And since my incident, I haven't been able to do that. And my son had to basically confide in his grandfather, which is he's no longer with us now, as far as the hunting goes and stuff. Me as the father, I could never share that with my son. My son looks up to me, and he's in the medical field himself. I think I'm a much better person than I was really like 10 years ago. I was injured on the job. I had a pretty serious back injury, and my doctor wouldn't really issue any sort of pain medication or anything. And I was in a kind of a dark spot at that time. So I kind of turned to alcohol as a pain medication. And yeah, I got an OWI. But since then, I've kind of just turned things around. I mean, I've got my fiance. I'm really family orientated. It's just life is too short, and I just you just got to kind of enjoy it while you're here. And I can't sit here and just throw my life away in a bottle. I really do appreciate and thank you for considering me for this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Retzlaff. Let's see if there are questions from the board. I have just one for you before I open it up for others.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a couple of other misdemeanor charges kind of around the time of this crime that you're seeking a pardon for, including in 1988. Again, it was a misdemeanor, 4th degree sexual assault. Can you just tell us what happened there?
Yeah, that was just it's a young girl that she had a crush or liking on me, and I was too old. I knew better. Believe she was like in a halfway house or a group home or something. I was staying at my friend's house where she was staying, and the mother of my friends, she was just, it was a bad deal all around. I should not have even been there. I mean, it was like a he said, she said thing. And, I shouldn't have even been there.
Mr. Retzlaff, I'm a little unclear what you're describing. Is this a person that you were dating and it was an age difference issue, or what? Can you just say what you're describing?
Well, it was an age difference. I was not dating. Yeah. So, I mean, I should not have even associated in any way, shape, or form with this person.
Okay. Can you tell me what gave rise to the charge?
I think it was more or less like the mother of my friends where I was staying turned me in basically because I stayed overnight.
What was the interaction you had with this young woman, is what I'm asking.
There was none. I mean, we slept in the same room, but there was no interaction. Like I said, it was like a he said, she said thing. Yeah, I gave her a ride. We went here, we went there, but there was no interaction.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Cindy.
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Retzlaff.
Good
You
morning.
also had a misdemeanor DNR violation in Washburn County in 1992. What was that for?
Yes, ma'am. I'm an avid bow hunter, and now and then I go to I go out shining at night, and 10 o'clock comes around, you can't be shining after 10 o'clock, and it was like 10:02 or something like that, 10:03, and the DNR had basically hit their lights and pulled me over. Yeah, I had my bow in the vehicle, but at the time I was running my minivan, which my bow was cased up and it was way, way in the back. There was no way that I could use it. So I was charged with shining after hours with a weapon in the vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Retzlaff? Okay, I think that's it from us then. Thank you very much for your time today. As I mentioned to everyone else, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. You're free to enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's try Mr. Jackson again and see if we have video working. Nope, looks like we do not have Mr. Jackson in the Zoom. Okay, we will move on to Jackie Utek. And after Miss Utek, we will try to come back again. All right, Miss Utek, we can see
Hello.
you. Over to you.
Okay, great. You can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity today. I'm nervous. This has been like 38 years. At the time I did this, I was extremely young, 19, 20. I stole keys from somebody, went into their home, stole items, money, clothing, a gun. I was put on probation. At the time, again, a drug and alcohol addict. I moved to Wausau, my parents living there, excuse me, thought that they could help, turned me around. I didn't have custody of my children. I then applied for welfare, was receiving welfare checks with the state had the assumption I had my children, and that was fraud. I was then found out I was committing fraud while on probation for this felony. I was arrested, put in jail, and while I was in jail, I was sentenced to prison for this felony, for the gun felony and for welfare fraud. I was given, I want to say, a 3 or 3.5 year sentence. I completed my sentence, completed my parole and all that, and here we are 38 years later. The reason I'm asking for a pardon is because I have grandchildren that are becoming young adults, and I have young grandchildren. This has just been a cloud, a black mark over my head. I feel horrible to the people I've hurt committing these crimes, and to my children. I'd like to have this just off my record. I'm ashamed of it. Currently, I do, well, for the last 15 years on and off, I've been doing volunteer work. Currently, I help my elderly neighbors with rides to groceries, ride for appointments, taking out their garbage. I also volunteer 1 day a month at the local VFW in the kitchen. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Utek. We'll see what questions the board has for you. I have just one, which is that, as you mentioned, all of this is a very long time ago, and there really isn't anything recent in your record. The last thing appears to be in 2005, which was it wasn't even a criminal charge. It was a non-criminal disorderly conduct in Marathon County, but I'm just wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what happened there.
I believe at the time I was working manager of Wisconsin Cheesecake. I had fired an employee, and she had then brought charges against me, and that was that.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Cindy.
Yes. Hi, Ms. Utek. You may have heard me ask other applicants this, but the application does not require but encourages letters of support, and you did not submit any. Can you tell us why not?
Yes, because of the horrible actions I took foolishly at a young age. I'm so ashamed, and I didn't want to bring this up because I'm so ashamed of this, with family members. I have not discussed this with anybody, that isn't a family member, that doesn't know about this. It's basically because I'm just so ashamed of this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Utek? All right, seeing none, Ms. Utek, thank you very much for your time this morning. We really appreciate you talking with us and hope that
Thank
you.
you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we are going to try to come back to Mr. Jackson, who I believe is just rejoining the Zoom with us. We are running a bit ahead of schedule, so if we need to, we can give him a few more minutes. Okay, looks like he is going to rejoin audio only. We did not get the camera working, but we'll get him back in the Zoom in just a second here. All right. Hi, Mr. Jackson.
Hello.
Hello. All right. We heard we did not get your camera working, but we'll just go ahead and hear from you by audio. So we'll turn it over to you to answer those 3 questions in about the next 3 minutes and then see if we have questions for you.
Okay. My offense was forgery. Okay, back in 83. I was 19 years old, and I realized back then I was young and unaware of the things I did as a child. I was still growing up. But I also had another case that was a keeper of a drug house. And I was trying to watch a game due to the, no, let me go back to the forgery. The forgery was because I was young and I didn't have a job. And I had just had a child that I was trying to take care of, son. Credit cards came to my house, so I took the credit cards and tried to get something for my son. Okay, therefore I went to a store and it didn't happen. That's when I got the forgery case. Now, I did the time for it. Then I admitted to me being wrong. What I did was wrong. And I served my time, and I did good in that area, finishing that. But then I turned around and picked up another case, which was keeper of a drug house. And this was back in 95. I was watching, I had a few guys over. We were watching a game, Bucks game. And the police came in on us, and by it being my house, when the police came in, some of the guys that were there, they had guns and dope. So therefore, this all it came back on me. And that's a case I picked up, and it could have been an even bigger case, but the judge, when it went in front of her, she seen that I was disability, and she stated that, Mr. Jackson, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this, instead of the case that is presented to me, I'm going to make this keeper of a drug house, which only carries like 2 years. And I ended up doing like maybe 3 months out of that deal. Okay. And, so the keeper got on me. I'm aware of these people having drugs and guns on them. I just thought we were watching basketball. Okay. And then she understood everything. And she helped me in that area. I ended up doing the time for that. And that's those two cases I'm, putting out there. And I finished probation and everything. I was at that time 31 this time. Okay. So now that I'm, taking care of those cases, now I've went on in life to get some things to, how can I say this, better myself in life. Okay. For myself, try to do some things that
Mr. Jackson, you muted yourself. I'm not sure if you were done or maybe sneezing, but we cannot currently hear you.
security at Washington High School.
Okay,
And
we can hear you again.
beg your pardon?
We can hear you again now, but we lost, I think, the beginning of your sentence there.
Okay. I started doing community service to help kids. I was the security at
Armed. Ready to arm.
Washington High School. And as I got older, then I started doing, I was a chef. And I was able to go into cooking and stuff. After that, I just did a lot of service on helping people. That was what I started out doing, working on cars, just mainly helping people, doing snow, cutting grass, for a lot of people. I just, I do these things and I didn't charge them. It's just helping, Today, that's mainly what I'm doing. I do helping a person that owns a tire shop, mainly like security. Again, basically, that's what I'm doing a lot of. As a matter of fact, so much security I have done, I want to get my own business going in security. And I would.
Mr. Jackson, looks like you've muted yourself again. Understand that you want a pardon for pursuing a security business. I do want to see if we have questions from the board for you. Are you able to unmute yourself again?
Hello?
Yep. Okay. Can you hear us now?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson, I just want to see if the board has questions for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over to them. Any questions from the board? Okay, I have just one for you, which is in 1995 or 1994. It looks like you were convicted of violating a restraining order. Could you just tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Me and my wife was together, okay, and we had gotten back together. But then she got upset with me about something and called the police. I had a restraining order on her. I took mine off, but she still left hers on me, and I didn't know. I thought she had took it off, and that was to deal with that restraining.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jackson? No? All right. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Jackson. You are free to go enjoy the rest of your morning. And board members, we are a bit ahead of schedule, so we will take a short break to stay compliant with our open meeting notice. If everyone can just rejoin the Zoom or be back on camera a couple minutes before 10, we'll hear our next set of applicants then. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're about ready to pick back up so we can start letting folks in from the Zoom. Good morning, everyone. As you're joining us, we're just going to let folks in from the waiting room and we will get started in just a moment. All right, I think that is everyone. So good morning. We are about ready to get started with the second morning block of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board hearing. I'm Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers. Other board members with me on the Zoom today include Reverend John McVicker Sr., who is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee and an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. Board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle, and also worked at the Department of Justice. And board member Nadia Perez-Reyes, who is the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Children and Families and previously served as a public defender and an attorney for legal action. I'm going to go through just a couple of housekeeping items and then we will go ahead and get started hearing from all of you. Please note that the hearing today is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. We'll ask you to mute yourselves and keep your video off until it's your turn to be heard from the board, and that will just help us ensure that we can focus on the person who's talking and that we have good audio quality. If you do have any IT issues using Zoom today, someone from my team will reach out to you and help you troubleshoot. So while we'll go through folks in the order listed on the meeting agenda, if we need to come back to someone because of tech issues, we will go ahead and do that. So we'll have about 5 minutes with each applicant today. We'll spend the first 3 of those minutes hearing from you. We'll ask you to answer the 3 questions that were sent to you in advance of today's hearing. So as a reminder, that will be giving a brief statement of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including any community involvement, volunteer work, employment, things like that. And finally, a brief statement on why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. After that, after those 3 minutes, the board may or may not have questions about your application. Don't read too much into it one way or another. Sometimes everything is answered based on your written application and what you tell us today. But if we do have questions, we want to make sure we get to those so the board has all the information that it needs to make a determination. Once you're done with our questions, you're free to sign off of the Zoom. You don't need to do anything else with us today. You can enjoy the rest of your morning. Because once everyone is heard, the board will then move into closed session and decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of the board members present in order to have your application passed on to the governor, who will then make a final decision whether to grant or reject those applications for a pardon. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of that process about a month or 2 from our office. Someone will reach out to you. You will not get an answer today, so I'm sorry, we're asking for just a little bit more patience, but things do need to go to the governor after this step. So we will call folks up in the order listed on the agenda, and that means we will be starting with Jimmy Mancera.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good morning. We can.
Good morning. Thank you. Well, I would like to just say good morning to everyone. Hope everyone is doing okay. My name is Jimmy Mancera. I'm 43 years old. I would like to first thank you for allowing me to appear before you today. I feel very honored. I would just like to say I'm very nervous and I do not want to leave everything out. So I have prepared a statement to read to you, and I hope this will answer all of your questions. I'm seeking a pardon for 2 felony convictions. The first was perjury when I was 16 years old. The second one was possession of a firearm by a felon when I was 19. There's absolutely no excuse for my conduct. I take full responsibility for my actions. Even though I was a young man, that does not justify my behavior. The only reason I even mentioned my age is that I do think my immaturity was one of the circumstances that led me to commit my felonies. Looking back at now at this as a dad, as a husband, as a middle-aged man with a career and 3 amazing children, I see that I was very foolish and immature. I committed perjury in 1998. I was hanging out with a group of people who I called my friends at the time. We went for a drive. One of the kids in the car started to brag about having a gun. I remember that we all thought this was very cool. Looking back now, it is hard for me to believe how immature and dangerous my decision to be with these guys was. The kid was showing off the gun. When he took it out of his waistband, he accidentally shot himself in the leg. We freaked out. We then made another very unwise decision. We made up a story about what happened. I don't know why we did this until this day. We should have just told the truth. It was just an accident. The only explanation I have for this is that we were frightened and we were young. We drove the kid to the hospital. The police came and took statements from all of us. Our parents were not there. We told the police the story we had made up. We made up a story that some other kids tried to rob us and shot our friend. Eventually, the kid told the police the truth, that he shot himself. The incident did result in a criminal charge for another kid that was in the car that night. A few months later, I got subpoenaed to testify. I was scared, confused, and I was worried. I did not even know what I was supposed to testify about. I went to court alone. My parents were not with me. I did not have a lawyer. When I arrived, a district attorney showed me a document and asked me if that was the statement I gave on the night of the incident. I think I said yes, but I was very confused about everything. It's been so long that I don't even remember clearly what I said on the stand. I do remember that the DA told me he was going to charge me with perjury if I changed my statement. I did not even know what perjury was at the time. I had no idea that I would have to deal with the consequences of this case for the rest of my life. I should have never put myself in a position where I was driving with a kid who was carrying a gun. It was terrible judgment, and making up a story to the police was just completely senseless. I feel ashamed thinking back at all my poor judgment and the trouble I got into back then. My second felony conviction was in 2001 for possession of a firearm by a felon. I was coming back to Madison from Milwaukee with a friend. Foolishly, we had a gun in the car with us. We got pulled over, and officers searched the car and found the gun. I never used this gun or any gun, but that's no excuse for the very reckless and immature decision to carry it in my car. At the time, I thought that by carrying a gun, I would be cool, I would feel protected, people would respect me, and I would be seen as a tough guy. Now I can see how wrong I was. I was on probation when this happened. I eventually got revoked and was convicted for being a felon with a gun. I was sentenced to prison for about 2.5 years and 3 years of parole. Just thinking about these incidents makes me sick to my stomach. It is shameful for me. Even 23 years later, I am reminded of all the irresponsible and stupid choices I've made. I should have never been carrying a firearm, period. It was irresponsible, it was dangerous, and it was wrong, and I knew it was. Prison was hard, but it taught me a lot about life. It helped me to grow mentally and develop a sense of responsibility. Some of the rehabilitation programs taught me skills that I have used in my life after prison. While I am so ashamed of the youthful, irresponsible Jimmy, I am thankful for my experiences from those times. I learned the importance of hard work, discipline, and gratitude. After my release from prison, I attended MATC. I also worked full-time. This went on for 3 years. There's more detail about in my application about this when I was working very hard to better myself. In addition to my academic and employment achievements, I'm also proud to have shared my love and passion for music with the community. I was part of a lively music scene in Madison and was part of introducing a new variety of music. There's also more information about this and the passion of the music industry in my application. and I feel very proud and blessed to have done this. In my application, I explained that even though I had become a very hardworking person, and even though I have been rehabilitated in prison, I was arrested again in 2014, sorry. This case was eventually dismissed. The basic circumstances of the case were that I began spending time with a person I should have never become friends with. Even though the drug charges against me were dismissed, I was detained by immigration authorities and placed into proceedings due to my prior felony convictions for perjury and possession of a firearm. This immigration detention went on for over 2 years. I eventually decided to voluntarily move to Colombia. Currently, I am not allowed to re-enter the United States without submitting to detention. I now live in Colombia, where I now work as a medical interpreter for the Spanish and English language. I began this career about 5 years ago. I'm very proud of this work and the skills that I have developed. It feels really good to be a part of the medical field by helping people with language barriers gain better access to the healthcare system and get the right information about their health. My new career is one of the reasons why I'm seeking a pardon. If I want to continue to grow in this field, having a pardon will help me get hired into more substantial roles. I really think I found a true calling. I have received recognition within my company. I'm confident that if pardoned, I would grow even more in this role. The more I can help in this area, the more I can help my community by providing a much needed service.
Thank you, Mr. Mancera. I want to see if we have questions from the board for you.
Is it okay if I finished? I wasn't finished, I'm sorry.
Okay, could you just maybe spend another sentence or two wrapping it up? Because I do want to make sure we get to any questions.
Sure, I was going to give you the other reason why I was seeking a pardon. I'm sorry. Is that okay?
Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. The other major reason why I'm seeking a pardon is to assist my immigration case. My felony convictions have caused severe consequences for me, having to leave the United States. If granted a pardon, I will have a much better chance at adjusting my status, and hopefully I will have the opportunity to return home. I have been residing in Colombia for almost 8 years, and these have been some of the hardest years of my life. I'm not really proud of the person I was, but I'm very proud of the person I have become today. No one has the power to turn back time, but I often wish I could. I know that I was never a bad person, but I recognize fully that I made incredibly poor choices that have cost me dearly and for which I am so remorseful. Through my own doing, I have lost on so many crucial aspects of life. My freedom, my family, my livelihood, my health, and the privilege to reside in a wonderful community as Madison. I do believe I am worthy of a second chance, and I hope this board and the governor agree. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Mancera. Questions for Mr. Mancera? All right, Mr. Mancera, I think just one for me. You mentioned the case that led to your immigration proceedings in 2014. And I know that those charges were eventually dismissed against you, at least what we have in the system. Is that case over now, other than the immigration consequences for you?
Yes, ma'am. It's been on almost 10 years now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mancera. We will let you get on to enjoying the rest of your morning. Thank you for your time today.
I really appreciate the time of the board. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, our next applicant is Mr. Elroy Zietz. I believe I saw it in the Zoom. Perhaps not. Mr. Zietz or Zeitz? All right, we will come back to Mr. Zietz. Ms. Mary Madden. We are ready to hear from you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Mary Madden. I'm 40 years old, and I'd like to thank you for your time this morning. A brief summary of my offense is I struggled with drug addiction for many years. And at this time, I was active in my addiction. I made a lot of horrible choices in these years. I'm very grateful for the support of my family during that time, but I did make a lot of really bad choices to keep my addiction. And when I got this case, I was actively using, and I don't recall if I owed drug dealers money or if I was trying to get more drugs at the time. It was a long time ago, but in that case, I did let my drug dealers take guns from my home that I was living at with my parents. I was just thinking about it. It makes me want to cry, but me and my dad, our relationship and my parents, they've always, even after that, they've supported me, and our relationship is restored. My dad did get some of his guns back because when this all was happening. Since my case, until about 2016, but I did complete probation. I did work and do some college in between that time. I did struggle with addiction still up until then, off and on. I would go to, I went to rehab a few times, and it just really had a hold on my life. I mean, I was addicted to crack cocaine and heroin, and it just really did have a hold. So since 2016, so this year I will be 8 years completely sober from any mind altering anything. And I'm so grateful for that. My life has completely turned around. I'm married. I had 2 more children. I found a great church that I'm very active in. I homeschool my children. I stay at home. I help take care of my great uncle and my great grandmother. I'm hoping that this year, actually, I have an interview in February with a WCTC. I'd like to get my CNA license so I can further assist older people. And like I said, I do serve in my church all over in all different ministries, cleaning, women's ministries, children's ministries, and any outreach that we do as a church. We are part of the leadership, me and my husband, and my life is just completely different. My kids, my 3 older kids, from like our relationship is restored and healed. I have 2 other children since this case. I also feel that I should be pardoned because of a total life change I have gotten into. And just for more opportunities in the future for helping older people and maybe children. I like to take care of and serve people and help where I can. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Ms. Madden.
Yes.
Let's see if there are questions from our other board members. Any
Okay.
questions for Ms. Madden? Cindy?
Yep, not a question, just a comment, Ms. Madden. Congratulations on your sobriety, almost 8 years now. The DA in your case supports your pardon. And of course, the victim, your dad, wrote a beautiful letter.
I'm gonna cry.
I don't want to make you cry, but thank you.
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Ms. Madden, just one question for me. You mentioned that there were guns in the home at the time, obviously your family's home. Do you own any guns now?
No.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Madden? All right, I think that's everything. Thank you very much for your time today, Ms. Madden, and hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you. You also.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Do we have Mr. Zietz in the Zoom? Looks like maybe still no. Okay, we will go ahead and move on then to Victoria Hawkins. Ms. Hawkins, you're in the Zoom already?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm so nervous this morning. I just want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity for this hearing. I'm very overly emotional about it because of the long journey that I've had. I'm sorry. I decided to do this pardon because I had 2 felonies, and one in Milwaukee and one in Waukesha for forgery uttering. I was very young at the time. What ended up happening and what led to this writing of bad checks was that I ended up getting pregnant at the age of 17 with my son, who is 22 this year. And 5 months into my pregnancy, his father was killed. And then 2 weeks after that, my biggest supporter, which was my father, passed away of a heart attack right in front of me. So after that, things became like really hard for me. I just started doing stuff that my family was doing. I was going to the stores, writing checks, just doing the most. Like, it was like I was living a life that I thought was the type of life that I was supposed to live at the time with no help. I take full responsibility for everything that I've ever done, all the revocations I had from my PO agents, just making up excuses for everything. My last time that I was incarcerated, I got released in 2014 of April. This year will make the 10th year. The first few times that I was getting revoked, I got sentenced to 3 years probation with 2.5 years held over my head, and I just kept messing up and just taking life for granted. And the last time that I actually did my time, I wasn't, the first few times it was a joke. I didn't take it serious. I didn't have an education. I didn't have a high school diploma, GED. I didn't have any of that. And so this last incarceration, I decided that, it was time to make a change. I was tired of going to jail. I was just tired, like something overcame me. I don't know what it was. But I decided to get in the programs that the prison had to offer. My first thing I did on my last time was get my GED, which I went full for my HSCD, and I passed everything. I graduated at Robert Ellsworth Correctional. And then after that, it was a few months before my release, I ended up taking the cognitive thinking program, which was a very, very helpful program for me because I learned a lot of things that I didn't learn in life and that no one ever taught me. So from there, I've just been doing everything. Like, I have gotten married. I have 3 children, 22, 11, and my last one is 7 by my husband. I have since then opened up 2 group homes, one in West Bend, Wisconsin, and one in Milwaukee off of 85th and Congress called Royalty Care, assistant living. Also, I'm in the process right now of opening up a family group childcare. I just did my application for it, and I'm sorry. And I just did my application for it. My fingers have been so crossed because this is like really big for me. I put my all into it. And I help the community. I am a credit repair specialist. I also took several classes for that. And I help people with their credit, counseling, you name it. I've helped people buy homes. I've helped people be able to finance cars, things like that, for free. For the community, and I've just been doing so much. I work for Freighter Health right now as a security dispatcher, and they also just hired me to do their shuttle because with my security dispatcher position, I didn't think that I would get the position because of my felonies, and I had to write letters and explain to them, how I changed in order for them to give me the job, and I'm just so grateful for that also. I think that I should receive this pardon because I have come so far out of these whole 10 years, like just far. I've been doing everything I was supposed to do. I'm almost done getting my associate's degree. I got maybe half a year left for that. because I ended up putting it on hold because I was going through some things with my older son. And so now I'm going back. I just got so much going on for me right now, and I'm just so proud of myself. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. With this pardon paperwork, I did the paperwork myself, and I also help people open up businesses in the community. So I've opened up several group homes for others and also several child care centers for others. And I just decided I've been helping everybody. Now let me try to get my businesses going and doing the things that I have to do. And I'm just so grateful and I'm thankful, and I love the city of Milwaukee.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Questions from board members? None? All right. None for me. So thank you very much, Ms. Hawkins. Appreciate your time today and hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Okay.
All right. I do believe we have Mr. Zietz back with us in the Zoom. Mr. Zietz, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. And I'm sorry, is it Zietz or Zeitz?
It's Zeitz.
Zeitz. All right, Mr. Zeitz. We'll turn over to you. We're going to ask you to spend the next 3 minutes answering those questions that you were sent in advance, and then we'll see if the board has any further questions for you.
My name is Elroy Zeitz. I'm 65 years old. The reason why, my life has changed like 360 since I quit drinking in 2003. We're now business owners. I'm not very good at phone conversations or whatever. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do the best I can. You're very nervous. We do a lot of community service. I mean, as far as helping the community, we got a used appliance store. I mean, I really don't know what to say aside from everything is going very good in my life right now. I quit drinking, like I say, 20 years ago, and that was one of my biggest problems. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life that I'm not proud of. I'm trying to make everything right now as I'm going along. I mean, things are just going really great in my life right now. And I would really like to have the felonies dropped or expunged so I can move forward, you know, because to me, it's a big blockade in my life. I'd like to have a clear record, period. I made a lot of bad mistakes that I'm not proud of. I'm doing the best I can in my days these days of trying to make everything right, you know, for myself and for everybody else for that matter too. I just hope that there is a chance there that I could get a second chance in my life where I don't have to deal with any felonies, or I don't like the idea of the misdemeanors or anything else. I've made dumb mistakes, and I'd really like to have those. Nothing I can do about some of them, but you know, I really, you know, I'd like to hanging around with the wrong people and the drinking and everything else. You know, I don't even have those people in my life anymore. I've done a lot of things to make my life better to go forward. I really don't know much more to say aside from I appreciate your time listening to my reasonings for to try to get the felonies expunged. But I'm never okay. Thank you very much for hearing me out today.
Thank you, Mr. Zeitz. Just a couple of questions or one from me before we open it up for the rest of the board. It does seem like since your sobriety, which you said was in 2003, you really mostly stayed out of trouble with the law. I did see that there was a ticket. It was non-criminal, but a ticket from last year involving placing a substance on the highway. Could you just tell us what that was about?
Yes, actually, we were at a birthday party in Milwaukee for a friend of mine's daughter, and I know he gave me a firecracker, which I really didn't want. But on the way home, we were out in the county. It was towards the nighttime, and it was on a pretty, where there wasn't a lot of traffic. Well, I lit the firecracker from my car window and tried to throw it out the window into the ditch, but it did. My elbow hit the door, so it dropped in the street. Well, with the bad luck, and when the firecracker went out the window, we just went down the road and just left it the way, left it that way. And when I went down the road, the police department turned the corner right there. Then when he went by, the officer even said, well, the next time throw in the ditch. Well, I did try to throw it in the ditch because there was a field on both sides of the street. It was out in the middle of pretty much like nowhere.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Zeitz. Other questions from the board? Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Zeitz. You said you were hanging out with the wrong people, but these crimes were committed when you were in your 40s. We see a lot of applicants who maybe got in with the wrong crowd in their teens or their 20s. But how do you explain your criminal behavior in your 40s?
Just the drinking problems. I've even moved to Illinois to get away from the people that I were associated with at those, with the drinking and everything else. And that's where my life pretty much started. When I got out of prison, I just decided to let all this old stuff in the past be in the past. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't want to live that anymore.
Congratulations on your sobriety. I have one other question for you. The application encourages but does not require letters of support, and you did not submit any letters. Can you tell us why not?
Well, if you're referring to like, I've done AODA when I was in prison.
No, I'm asking about letters of support from family, friends, neighbors, volunteer work, employers.
Well, I really don't have any. Any letters or anything, I don't really know what to say on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
No, not at this time. Just aside from being very, very nervous. I've been trying to get this record straight for a very long time. I know I'm not doing very good with the phone conversation. I deeply apologize.
We understand lots of folks are nervous. Don't worry. We get a lot of that. We understand it's a stressful day. But we have no other questions for you. So thank you very much for your time with us today. And you're welcome to go enjoy the rest of your morning. You don't need to hang out with us, and you can expect to hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or two.
Okay, that sounds great. All you people have a wonderful day, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir. All right, our next applicant. Thank you. Our next applicant is Miss Michelle Kotorski, who I believe I saw on the Zoom.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
There you are. Yes, we can hear you. We can't see you.
Okay. I don't know what.
There we go. Perfect. We'll
Okay,
turn
there
it over to you.
I can't see myself, so I hope I'm centered okay.
You look great. Go ahead.
All right, cool. I'm here today, back in 1991. My 18-year-old self was not very using very good judgment with my newly opened checking account. I don't even know if they do this anymore, but back then they give you these blank starter checks with just your account numbers on them. And my friends, okay, I can't even blame my friends. I'm the one that did this, but we're like, oh, nobody's name's on here. We can write fake names on here and get and cash them or cash them for money. Okay, well, long story short, I obviously got caught because duh, the checks do have your account number on them, and which obviously led back to me. I believe it was 4 checks that I had written with, there were fake names I put on there and cashed for a total of $1,869. I was convicted of 2 counts of forgery. My parents loaned me the money to make full restitution, including court costs at the time of my sentencing. I was given a suspended jail sentence, but if I completed 2 years of probation and community service, I would avoid any jail time. Both of these requirements were completed successfully. It's probably safe to assume that this stupid stunt I pulled 32 years ago scared me into growing up, as I have not had a single incident with law enforcement ever since. And over the past 3 decades, I've worked hard to, I took some classes at North Central Technical College. I established a successful career in sales and marketing, mainly in the technology and logistics industries. I also spend a great amount of time volunteering at local animal shelters. I'm just very proud of what I have accomplished and the person that I've turned into today. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here. A couple reasons why I'm asking for this. First of all, I'm just embarrassed at what I did as an 18-year-old, and to be labeled as a convicted felon. There's actually very few people that even know this about me. And to be honest, this is one of the reasons why I did not ask for letters of recommendation. It didn't want an employer, knowing about this. A lot of my friends that I've had for the past 20, 25 years, they don't even know this about me. It's just, maybe I should have done the letters, but it's just an embarrassment as to why I don't have them. Another reason, probably the biggest reason I want this is for my career. As I had mentioned, I've mainly been in sales and marketing. And 6 years ago, I opened up my own business as a freight agency brokerage operation. So basically, I deal with businesses who ship freight. And mainly, I work in the aerospace industry. So some of the clearance requirements, like, for example, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, they probably require an extensive background check. And I've kind of backed away from some of these opportunities because I don't know what they're going to find on me if it goes back 10 years or if it goes back 3 decades. I'm not sure. And I just feel like, having that removed would open up a lot of doors for me into gaining new clientele, for my business. And probably another reason is, while I've never had firearms, obviously I couldn't. I'm around people that are avid hunters, including my current life partner. She cannot utilize her CCP, her permit, or carry a handgun for protection, or even when we go camping in these remote areas, just because of my record. Sorry, I've rambled on a million things here, but if you have any questions for me, and thank you guys for the opportunity. I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Of course, thank you, Ms. Kulturski. Any questions from the board? None? All right. I think that is it from us then. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Okay.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Our next applicant is Mr. Dustin Fleming. Mr. Fleming, if you're able to unmute and turn on your camera, we're ready to hear from you. Mr. Fleming, looks like you're connected to audio now, but you're still muted. Are you able to unmute and turn on your camera?
How's that?
We can hear you. Are you able to turn on your camera?
Trying. I am not the greatest.
There we go.
There. Okay. I apologize for the background noise. I'm currently on a job. So.
Got it. That's right. We're ready to turn it over to you. If you can answer those questions about 3 minutes, and then we'll see if there are any questions from the board.
All right. Thank you. Possession of a firearm for 2007. I had no license. I was getting pulled over all the time because my car was known. I registered my car in my ex's name to avoid the constant tickets. When me and her broke up, we agreed to share the car, and on a day I was to use it to get to work, she never showed up. Found out from some friends where she was with the car. I called to where she was. We were all mutual friends at the time, and one of her friends answered the phone and said she was there, but if I showed up, I better not come empty-handed. And to be ready for a gunfight. I stupidly showed up with a pistol in my waistband and I knocked on the door. The owner of the house answered the door, and her friend was standing behind him with a firearm. I then drew the pistol from my waistband and held it at the ground. Not pointing it at anyone, then proceeded to ask for Katie and the keys to my car. She came outside from the backyard. We got in the car together. Then returned to turn myself into the KPD. Once arrested, I brought KPD back to where the gun was to turn it over to them for the fear of a kid finding it and getting hurt. I was sentenced to 1 year in the county jail with 2 years probation. Fast forward to 2010, where my friends came over to my house saying he needed fast money. Had this plan to go into a junkyard to steal aluminum rims. Because he said he's done it before, but needs help this time for a larger take. I agreed to help for a cut of the profits. After gathering the rims and other car parts, he walked to get his van and drove in the field so we could load the van faster. Once the van was loaded, a KPD officer showed up and we took off. The next morning, Chris went to the KPD building and made a deal to have his van back. I was arrested and pled guilty for my actions to 6 months of probation. My 6 months of probation was revoked. I was sentenced to 3 years Wisconsin State Prison with 4 years extended supervision. While incarcerated, I enrolled into the CIP program at St. Croix, the non-AODA inmate. Did 6 months there, 2 weeks and 3 days away from being released. Scott Walker repealed the Act 28 for non-AODA offenders, and I was returned to medium security prison for the remainder of my time. In that time, I enrolled into finishing my GED, my HSED, was the cook for all 3 meals of Flammable Correction, tutored and mentored struggling inmates for their HSED. Since my incarceration, I've lost my mother to suicide, I bought a house, got married. Now I have 2 kids. One is 2.5 years old. I was employed at Helgeson in Hartford 2.5 weeks after release for 3 years. Since then, left in 2015, worked for Allfleet Inc. for about 2 years. While there, I've helped stranded drivers on the interstate with flat tires at no cost just to help them. Left Allfleet, went to work for Cutzer Express for 6 years, where I was able to start a toy drive for kids and families in need, would gather new toys on Xmas Day, and would deliver toys and items to kids in hospitals. Women and Children's Horizon of Kenosha Police Department, as comfort toys for kids, as well as the Sheriff's Department. As of September 13th of 2020, 2023, I have left Kutzler to pursue my own business as a roadside service mechanic for mainly semis and trailers. Have not reoffended since my release. I took being incarcerated as an opportunity to change and opened my eyes to the realization that incarceration was not what I wanted or where I wanted to be. Although it has helped me with guidance onto the path I needed to be on, a lot of thanks goes to the staff at St. Croix Correctional for the military-style cognitive thinking tools needed to help me. And although I'm no longer there, I still use the tools I was given to this day with decision-making. And I think of possible outcomes before I do something. Having severe ADHD and being easily persuaded was a struggle I have learned to cope with, leading me to where I am today. I think I should be pardoned because I have learned from my mistakes. I have not reoffended in 12 years. I now have a wife who supports me and helps me daily. My kids are my everything, and I want to be able to teach them things I was never taught. To no longer have to explain my past to those who don't already know it. And to put my negative past to rest and to become a positive member of society, helping those in need, continuing a toy drive for my now company, giving others an opportunity to work and be successful, hire those who struggle with employment who are employable, and if I can help one person change, then I feel I've made a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
Thank you.
Before I open it to questions from other board members, I have just one for you. This is a misdemeanor, and it's from around the same time as we've been discussing, so I understand a lot may have changed since then. But there was a conviction in 2005 for misdemeanor battery. Can you just tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yes, I was at school ready to start my school day, and one of my then friends had already drinking, and he was high. And my brother showed up to the parking lot to wish me a good day, and he ended up knowing my brother's girlfriend from the past, and he got violent with her. He spit on her, and he went to go smack her, and at that time I jumped over the hood of the car and I came down on him and I punched him in his face.
Got it. Okay, that was when you were in high school?
Yes, yeah, that was at Tremper.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Fleming? None? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fleming. Appreciate your time, and you are free to go enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next applicant is Ms. Michelle Halaska. I believe I said. There we go.
One second there. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
My name is Michelle Halaska. I am 48 years old. A brief summary of my offense. In 1993, I was charged with party to the crime burglary with a, I think it was a weapons charge that was read in at the time, but I wasn't charged with it, but it was read in. I was 17. I was dating a guy who, he liked guns, and he was, I guess, a wild boy, and that at the time, intrigued me, and I just went along with it. And what we did is, we robbed my grandparents. We broke into my grandparents' house, and we robbed them of guns and money. That was what I did. They caught us that same day, and during the sentencing, I was sentenced to 9 months in jail, and I think it was like 7 or 8 years of probation, and some community service, and I think I was supposed to be on the bracelet for 3 months. And while in jail, I was still drinking and still using drugs, and I got my work release revoked from me. I quit smoking smoking marijuana when I got put on the bracelet, but I was still drinking because I had a probation officer and she was testing me and thinking I was gonna fool them or something. And so those were my charges. Since my charges, and I apologize. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to get this far in the pardon process. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been in recovery I've had 17 years of continuous sobriety. So as you can see, I did struggle for, about 10, 15 years, something like that, with my drug and alcohol addiction. And I was able to do, I got married. I have 3 children. I got divorced from my first husband. I was single for a number of years. And then I just recently got married 5 years ago. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. So he has 2 children. I have 3 children. And 4 years ago, I'm sorry, 5.5 years ago, I received custody of my granddaughter, my daughter's daughter. And we ultimately adopted her in 2021, I believe it was. Yes, when she was 4. So that is one way that I was able to give back to the community. I was a single mom with 3 small children. I was able to go through a 5-year apprenticeship, electrical apprenticeship. I'm a journeyman wireman right now. And I have been for, 17 years, 18 years, since 2006 is when I started. I know I had a letter from the business manager at the time, who wrote a letter for me, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm appreciative that I was as involved with our union as I was. I mean, I couldn't be too involved because I had children, but I did what I could. I volunteer at my youngest daughter, my granddaughter. I call her my daughter because we adopted her. I volunteer at her school. I was able to make amends to my grandparents. And they passed away. Just knowing that I was able to apologize and turn my life around long enough that they could see the change in me. I'm a member of good standing in AA. I'm a member of good standing in Al-Anon. I go to church. I feel like I've been completely reborn. I'm not the person that I was back then, and it would just mean the world to me. I believe that because of everything that I've done, that I would make a great candidate to be pardoned. It would open up more opportunities for teaching. I'd love to do more teaching. Not that I don't like what I do, because I love being an electrician, and it helped me to raise my children all on my own. I got very little to no help from my ex-husband when I was taking care of them. And I take full responsibility for what I've done. I think I've done that over and over again. I mean, not a day goes by that I don't think about the horrible person that I was. And just not that I'm better than anybody today, but I want to be a worker among workers, a friend among friends, and I feel like having this felony over my head, I still feel like I can't look people in the eye as a member of society. And I'm just really grateful for this opportunity. And that's all that I have right now.
Thank you, Ms. Alaska. Questions from the board? I had just one. You mentioned in your application that one of the reasons you were seeking a pardon was to potentially run for public office. I heard you talk about a lot of other reasons that I think are also important, but I'm just curious if that's something that you're still interested in.
That is something. Thank you for reminding me. It is something. I was able to get involved in our local school board, and that would be something that I would absolutely definitely pursue. And seeing where that takes me in the role of public service. Thank you so much for reminding me. I completely forgot about that, and I'm very appreciative to be able to feel compelled to participate in various public, I don't know what you would call that, just other than public offices. That would be wonderful.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions? No? All right, thank you much, Ms. Alaska. Appreciate your time today and hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
I will, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, our next applicant is Mr. Daniel Bildo, which I'm probably pronouncing incorrectly.
Yeah, you're close. Can you hear me?
Okay, well, tell me how to do it.
Billadoo.
Billadoo, all right. Mr. Billadoo, we'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you guys for your time here. The offenses that I am seeking a pardon from are manufacturing and delivery of narcotics that I earned back in 2007 and possession of narcotics that I earned back in 2011. I had drug and alcohol issues in my younger years. And at the time, I thought it was a good idea to sell the drugs to basically support my habit. And then basically there was a friend of mine that also got in trouble, and he was working with the police, and then they just set up like a CI buy bus type thing. So since that time, it was kind of confusing because the charges were brought in 2007, but I also at the same time received or earned my third OWI. So I had while I was sitting in county for the third OWI, these charges were just kind of like lingering around. And then after I got out, then I ended up going to visit someone at the county in the visitor section, and then they ended up picking me up and bringing me in to charge me with all of these charges. So I ended up sitting it was, I don't know, maybe like a year or so, 6 months in county, and then with some probation. Through those years, I had some issues of still using, so I'd have to go back to county multiple times or the Huber facility for dirty UAs through the WCS building. And then one of the last charges of the possession of narcotics, then my PO finally was about to revoke me, but then she sent me to the boot camp up in Black River Falls. And then pretty much since then, after I got released, she basically helped save my life, but she put me on a prescription called naltrexone, which was an opiate blocker, and made it mandatory for me to go to AA, get a sponsor, work through the steps. And so that pretty much happened back in 2012. And then since then, life was good for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. I ended up relapsing in 2015, but then got sober again in January 31st of 2016. And then since then, I've been still active member of AA, sponsoring men, bringing them through the book. I have become a member at our church out in New Berlin. It's called Banner Church, and I'm actually there on their production team, help out at the sound and lights there. Since being released, I got married back in 2018 with my wife, and then we actually just had a son last year. And then then just basically through the AA program, just building back the relationships with my family, and just kind of being like a son that they can trust and lean on and get help with, and I'm always available for them, which is so it's a good feeling to have back. And then some of the reasons for seeking the pardon was one, to get the felonies off the record, obviously, but then with the company that I work with, CG Schmidt, we do bigger construction jobs, and some of the job sites do background checks to be able to get you in to do the work. So there's been a couple jobs where I've had to go to other places. But then also when I first started with them as a journeyman carpenter, I've now worked my way up from sub-foreman to foreman, and then I've been working on taking some classes to move my way up the ladder to start at like a superintendent position, and then from there kind of keep working my way up through their company. And I guess I'm not 100% sure if a felony would hold me back or not from those type of applications, but it's just some of the reasons why I would be seeking this pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Belladere. Questions from board members? All right, none for me. So I think that covers it then, Mr. Belladere. Thank you very much for your time this morning, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys. You too.
All right, our next applicant this morning is Mr. Daniel Slagle. I know is on the Zoom. Looks like you're still muted.
How's that?
Good. Is it Slagle or Slagle?
Slagle, that was perfect.
Great. All right, we'll turn it over to you then.
Okay. Good morning. Just very appreciative that this opportunity exists. I've been trying it for years. When I last tried it, the governor didn't, have it in place at that time. I'll try to keep it as simple as I can. The crime was Party 2 crime burglary when I was 17 years old. And the details of it were mostly, I would say I was bored and lonely and fell in with the wrong people. And I was very easily persuaded at that point in time. That being said, they weren't 100% honest about what we were doing, but it became clear. I knew they were up to no good, so, I'm not making any excuses. But for whatever reason, I just froze and didn't extricate myself from the situation. I remember when I saw them doing what they were doing, I was just stunned by how really it was just too stupid to comprehend, because there was no attempt to hide what they were doing. I remember feeling really exposed sitting there. I knew my license plates were visible. We're sitting in front of an apartment building. But, I had my chance to ditch them there. I was in the car. I wasn't with them inside the trailers that they broke into. But I didn't do anything. I just froze. you know, I thought ahead. I thought, oh, they're gonna mess with me for years. We go to school together. And that actually wound up happening anyways. You know, my car was vandalized for years, but that's kind of a side note. So I didn't act, and I had more days to, you know, call the police first, turn them in or something, but I didn't. It was a catch-22. You know, I felt like if I do, I'm damned, and if I don't, I'm damned. So I did nothing. The detectives came to the school, and I was paged to the office. I knew what it was going to be. I went there, and I did not accept an attorney or defender. I just sat there and I just literally told them what happened, and that was not a good move. In retrospect, you know, there's a reason why you're supposed to have somebody represent you legally. But I was very naive, and so in a nutshell, I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't stop them from doing what they were doing. You know, I didn't turn them in. And I even accepted some tools from them later that they stole. So that also made me, you know, tied me into it. I just wanted to get it over with. Once I was out of jail, I think I'm very lucky that I was allowed to leave jail, go back to work. I'm very fortunate I could keep my job. Fortunately, I hadn't been enough days missing that they could fire me yet, although I know they really wanted to. But I was able to work and save money. And once that job was no more, that store actually closed. It became very tough. I was on probation about 1.5 years, and I actually got recommended for early release. And I remember the day I got that letter, and it stuck out to me. They said less than 1% of people in the situation actually get recommended for early release. And I felt like that would really separate me from other felons, but that's a really broad category. But it's still, trying to find a job was just, you know, I didn't want to lie on applications, and it was just one after another. No, you know, no callback. Fortunately, I do know how to do a lot of things. Like, I can work on cars. I mean, I fixed cars. I worked for food. I donated plasma. I even cut hair and babysat. Like, I did anything and everything for much of my early 20s just to make money. And eventually, you know, I would get a break. Somebody wouldn't ask about my felony, or occasionally not even care. That's very rare. You know, I worked minimum wage jobs, $6, $7 an hour. That kind of dates me, if you know how long ago that was the minimum wage. But, you know, I wanted to do more. I was just getting by. And I eventually, you know, first I looked at the military, and honestly, in retrospect, that probably would have been a good decision to go. But the recruiter told me your felony doesn't matter in military court. You know, you got a good score on the ASVAB, and you're a top candidate. And I said, well, what happens once I get out? And he says, oh, your record comes back. And I don't know, it's just I didn't like that. I mean, it makes sense. But I decided after that, you know, I have to do something with my time. I looked at college. I decided to do that because, again, not having good friends, you know, I was just wasting my early 20s, wasting them. And college did get me into a better crowd. And I actually decided to major in Spanish while I was there. It was, you know, it's required to learn a language, or at least do 2 years of it. And I decided I want to master this language. So I did. I graduated with that. Towards my late 20s, I got my first big break. And again, I think I'm very lucky because I knew somebody, and I knew about a job opening with an insurance agency. And it took a lot. I went all the way up to the vice president of the company. I'm glad that I had gone to college and practiced writing papers so much. It really helped. You know, I pitched my case. It took a long time. Months went by. And eventually I did get approved. And the state, of course, as well, gave me an exception to get insurance licenses. And I've been working that job for 14 years now. And I think I'm very blessed. I've saved a lot of money. I've invested as much as I can, because to me, there's always coming that day when this job is over. And you would think after all that time that a felony wouldn't matter, but it really does seem to affect an employer's judgment a lot. They see that word. It almost seems like that's all they see. it just drowns out everything else you've done. So this agent that did hire me is retiring soon, and that's a big part of my motivation. But just to touch on that second question a little more, in these years, I've been buying old houses and fixing them up. I am a landlord, but I don't do late fees. All my rents are below market prices. Like, I fix everything. And I do get a lot of satisfaction out of taking a house that's not healthy, you know, getting the air clean, getting all the plumbing right, getting everything up to code. It gives me a lot of satisfaction. It's not going to get me rich. I'm not going to make a living off it, but it's kept me busy, kept me out of trouble. I also have used my Spanish to help a lot of friends and family. Well, they're like family, you know, helping them as English as second language, you know, helping them get stuff done. You could write a book about it. I'll try to keep it short. Like, just, you know, I keep myself
Thank you,
busy.
Mr. Slagle.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Wow.
I think she's frozen, Mr. Slagle.
Well, I don't know how much you heard.
I think you're okay. Usually when that happens to me too.
Mr. Slagle, can you hear me?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I do think I'm having some issues here too on my end. But I think at this point, I'm just gonna open up to any questions from the board.
Yep, Mel, I have a question, Sunny.
Great.
Okay.
I hear you.
Hi, Mr. Slagle. Good morning. Just a question on, you submitted some letters of support, but they're dated like 2013. And your application says you never applied for a pardon before, so I'm a little confused by that.
I tried, but at that point, this process didn't even exist.
So you gathered the letters back then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you. I think that is it from us then, Mr. Slagle. I appreciate your time and hope that you enjoy the rest of your morning.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then our last applicant of the morning session is Catherine Smith. Ms. Smith, I believe I saw you on the phone. Ms. Smith, if you're just able to unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go.
There we are.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, my
Sure
name
can.
is
We'll turn
Catherine.
it over to you.
Okay, my name is Catherine Smith. Years ago, I was in a not very good marriage and started drinking quite heavily. Ended up moving to a different city. And again, I was drinking quite heavily. I signed the back of a check, which I should not have done. And that's how I got my felony. Since then, I've been sober for just about 20 years now. I have opened up a whole new life for myself. I worked with a women's alcoholic group at our local church. I ran that for about 7 years. Have also worked on 12-step programs, public speaking, also helped quite a few people get sobriety. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous. So I've been doing that, and I'm still involved with all that currently right now. I've really tried to improve myself as much as I possibly can. But having a felon on your record is very hard, like other people have mentioned, to find a job, but I've always had a job. And now I'm supporting myself. It's been a hard road, but well worth it. I love seeing people wake up and quit using or drinking, and I help them get better for themselves, and that helps me in what I'm trying to do with the AA group. So I've got very supportive family members, which has helped me tremendously. And I'm just hoping to get this removed so it's just not on my record anymore.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Questions from board members? Cindy?
Yeah. Good morning, Ms. Smith. Just a couple of questions. You mentioned some of the activities you're involved with. Is that volunteer work, or are you currently employed?
Currently, no. I injured my shoulder back in April. It's all volunteer work.
Okay.
Everything that I do with AA is all volunteer work.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. One other question. It looks like your probation was extended. Why was that?
My probation actually wasn't extended. I moved from Nakusa, Wisconsin, and I moved back to South Milwaukee, Wisconsin to live with my parents. And that's when I finally got sober.
So what does that have to do with your probation? I'm confused.
Well, I did probation for 2 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith, just one for me. We hear a lot of folks tell us, that they were young and foolish when they did crimes or things like that, or they fell into the wrong crowd. You were 49 at the time, which is different from a lot of the stories we hear. And I'm just wondering if there's anything else that you want to share about what was going on with your life, or what was happening at that period.
At that point, I was going through a very bad divorce. And I thought drinking was going to be the answer, so I didn't have to think about things any longer. And it was the wrong thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions from the board, so we'll thank you for your time this morning, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, you also. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, that is our last applicant for the morning session. So at this point, the board will move into closed session. So I will entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning specific cases before the board, for purposes of considering specific applications and considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Reverend McVicker, a second.
A second.
From Nadia, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?